Oh yeah, we are live. We are live. We are live. Hey, what's going on, everybody? This is your boy Porter Rock 77 with a quick 60 frames no lag hangout. Just a quick one, not the usually scheduled one. The scheduled podcast goes Sundays 6 p.m. Eastern, and the topic for tomorrow is going to be the rise of mobile gaming. I have a special guest. He's a rising mobile gaming streamer on a network called Camcord. His name is Pocket Console. Check him out on Twitter. Pocket Console, very popular. He plays a lot of games. It's just interesting. Just something different from the normal console talks that we have. Like I said, my podcast is all about having the conversations nobody else wants to have. And I know a lot of console gamers don't look at mobile gaming as real gaming, but I'm sorry. At the end of the day, it's all about the dollars and cents. If it don't make a dollar, then it don't make sense. You know what I mean? And that platform's on a rise. I see these rise of mobile streamers and stuff like that. So I think it's pretty interesting just to see a peek in that world. There's some developers that were console developers that are going over to mobile gaming, and a lot of like MPD and all those companies that do statistics and stuff like that. They're saying a lot of our console-centric developers, third-party developers, they're building strategies on mobile gaming. It's even projected that by the end of this year, mobile gaming will surpass console and PC gaming in terms of revenue and content and stuff like that. So it's I think it's going to be a great podcast. It's just something for us to look out for, and we'll see. And you never know, we might see some great innovation out of the mobile gaming that could be applied to console gaming. So we'll just see. We'll save that all for tomorrow. But it's going to be a great topic. But what I want to talk about now. Oh, so one quick thing. In about an hour, I'll be on Next Gen 720's channel. I'll be debating someone called Madonna Saigon. He's been on the multiplayer podcast a couple of times. A very smart, intelligent dude. I think he's from England also. So it's going to be a very interesting debate. It's been a while. I know Zaire is pissed off at me because I ruined his Tony versus Xbox podcast. We haven't had one, oh my God, since maybe May. So it's going to be good. It's going to be entertaining. It's all in fun. Lots of respect to Madonna Saigon. Because like I said, I've been on the podcast with him, the multiplayer podcast. Very intelligent dude. So it's going to be great. It's going to be entertaining. So if you're listening, please tune into that. But on to today, something I want to get off my chest. So if you see the title, is PlayStation really in trouble? Financials 101. So why I want to bring this up? So recently, all the developers in the industry, publishers are pushing out their quarterly reports and earnings. And these are great tools to use for the fanboy console war. It's just great tools, if you're interested in that. But the problem is, on both sides of the fence, PlayStation and Xbox, if you have people that are really interested in actually learning, they're taking it serious. And what I mean by serious is not like, it's part of their life. They're just interested in the knowledge behind it. It's really a hard place to learn from the console fanboy perspective. You're really not going to get the good information. Now, some people may say, why even talk about it in the first place? Well, I'll give you a little backtrack on me. So, like I said, I've been gaming for a long time. I've been console gaming for a long time. All right, my first console, I go back to ColecoVision, Atari. But throughout my time as a young kid, early teenagers, I never understood why some games that I enjoy and I see all my friends play, but they never made a sequel. I never understood why TurboGrafx 16 never made another console. I never understood why, when Dreamcast failed, I was like, oh, snap, you know what I'm saying? I never saw the signs of failing to company stuff. Why do companies make decisions? Why do they do one thing and then they stop and start or whatever? Why did Game Gear fail when it was awesome to play Sega Genesis games on the go, And all of that has to do with financials. All of that has to do with how the product sells and the revenue the company makes. You know what I'm saying? I started getting interested in that portion of my hobby around the PlayStation 1 and 64 period. That's when I started learning and started seeing, why the reasons, the method behind the madness, And then the advent of the internet, I started using the internet like in 2000, I would say 2000s when I, got my first computer and I logged on with 56K internet and stuff. And then I started going into the websites and the forums and gaming websites, Before I needed to use magazines like EGM and GamePro. you know, in the PlayStation Mags and Nintendo Power. That was the only way you could get certain information, you know. But then with the internet, I was able to get more, so to get more up to date. Now you get Twitter feeds and all this stuff. So now information to get all this stuff is real easy. But back then it was a little bit harder and stuff. But with the internet, it made it easier for me to see um, the direction certain things were going and stuff like that, you know, just by learning. Okay. Now, when I learned this stuff, I didn't learn it from a console fanboy perspective. It was just straight up information from the sites, whatever. Then, little by little, as I was getting into the internet, that's when I started seeing the fanboy war and stuff like that. You know, how some of this information was being used um, to, I guess, you know, flame the floors of fanboys. But fanboying back then was a lot different as compared to fanboying now. It's completely different. And maybe I'll make a podcast on the differences between what I went through as a fanboy, you know, being part of the fanboy war, console war, as compared to what they're going through now. Oh shit, HP North, man, my first viewer. I don't get a lot of viewers, but yo, HP North, you and Alejandro, man, you guys been there since day one, and I appreciate it, man. So hey, what's up, HP? Thanks for stopping by. Definitely, you will never be forgotten. You know, if I make it big, believe me, you will always be remembered. You know what I'm saying? So I appreciate it. Thanks for stopping by. But anyway, going back. So based on my experience, if you're interested in your hobby, and there's nothing wrong with learning your hobby, because you know it helps you understand things like why did Lionhead Studios, you know, get, you know, demolished or whatever, you know, why did Fable is no longer being made, why is Dry Club in the studio that made Dry Club, despite them bragging about, oh, we sold 2 million copies or whatever of Dry Club, why did that studio go away? How come I don't have a new SOCOM? You know what I'm saying? What happened to Mech Warrior? Why aren't they making Phantom Dust? These are all questions gamers have, you know, and the explanation is financials. It's just how the product is, you know. A lot of people look at SOCOM 2, very popular game for the PlayStation. So why isn't the franchise being continued? It's because the last SOCOM confrontation was a disaster. It didn't sell. Most PlayStation 3 gamers were playing Call of Duty. So these companies, remember, when they make these games, yeah, they do it with the intent of gamers enjoying it. But you gotta understand, game development is a job. This is how they pay their bills. This is how they send their kids to school. It's no different than the job you have. You understand what I'm saying? So while they want to make these games, there has to be a return on the game too, you know. And at the end of the day, gamers speaks with their wallet. That's just the reality. It's not with conversations in a forum or conversations in Twitter. It's at the end of the day, did you buy the game? Is the money going back to the developer? That's really what it comes down to it. All right. So those who are really interested, this is just a quick podcast to cover down on this. This is specifically for Sony. If there's any Xbox fans out there that listens or on Twitter that want me to do one for Microsoft, I could try one. They're a little bit harder to do, but I'll try to do the research and bring it up. But back on to Sony. All right. So the biggest thing is Sony in trouble. A lot of people are saying, if you read the Wall Street Journal, if you read Forbes magazine, Sony's going down, their stock's going down, or it's staying flat, whatever. You know, there's a lot of talk about that. And then they directly correlate that to PlayStation, which means PlayStation won't be able to make games, or they're not going to be able to pay, they're not going to be able to develop new IPs, and VR bankrupt them. That's their new connect. So you see all these things being tied together. But that explanation is way too simple. You understand? Because when Forbes or Wall Street Journals or those financial sections of magazines, whatever, talk about Sony, they're talking about Sony as a whole. Now, to understand Sony as a whole, you have to know what Sony is comprised of. And Sony's comprised of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Of primary 10 divisions. All right, they're comprised of 10 divisions. So to understand Sony and their stocks, you have to understand what are those 10 divisions. All right, so their 10 divisions are mobile communications, which is pretty much their tablets and phones. Games and network services. This is the second division. This is the PlayStation division. This is specifically PlayStation games, and the PSN network, right? The third division is image products and solutions. So this is mostly the cameras and video cameras for Hollywood and all that stuff, and stuff. Home entertainment and sound. That's pretty much their, Blu-ray players, home theater systems, and TVs. Okay. Semiconductor, that's actually components for other products. Like for instance, they provide components for they provide components like the eye lens for the iPhone. So this is the division that deals with that, semiconductors. So components for other products, whether it's like a little piece of a camera for Apple or something they do for a VCR, whatever, this is the division that is responsible for that. Components mostly deals with like batteries and media, like the Blu-ray disc and Sony batteries. Yeah, Sony makes batteries and stuff like that. That division, that's the division that deals with that. Pictures, that's their movie studios. Music is another division, self-explanatory. Financial services, they actually have a banking. So Sony is actually a bank in the Asian market, stuff like that. And they do investments and all that stuff. So Sony's, believe it or not, is not just hardware. They actually have financial services for retirement, all that stuff. But I think it's mostly primarily in the Asian market stuff. And then finally, they have all other, which is pretty much everything that doesn't fit in the categories that that I just talked about. And then they have another division called corporate elimination, but those are the ones that whatchamacallit, that deals with downsizing and stuff like that. So that's not really a division selling products. That's just a division that directs or manages the other divisions in sense of downsizing, getting rid of, or whatever. I mean, it's a weird way of doing it, but that's something. So those are the primary divisions of Sony. Okay, we're going to talk about specifically what we want to know is the game and network services, which is the PlayStation division. Now, to understand, I want to give you a little context, and I want to talk about something real quick called fiscal year. Some people understand. HP North, you're a smart dude, so I know you understand. But you know, this is going to be recorded on my channel, so there's going to be people that don't understand. Calendar year is just pretty much January through December. That's considered calendar year. All right. When you hear the term fiscal year, it's depending on the business sector. They use that to determine money, and they pick one month to another month. It's still 12 months, but it isn't January to December. For example, in government, fiscal year for government, United States government, is October to September. So for example, this October, in about 2 months, right, starts fiscal year 2017 for the US government. All right, 1 October 2016 is actually, calendar year is actually 1 October 2017 for the fiscal year. And this is where the government, United States government, resets its budget. You know what I'm saying? And that budget ends in September 2017. So this is where they put all their money for, training and weapons and all that stuff. Moving military from country to country, all that stuff. All that budget begins in October. Okay? For the gaming industry, all right, the quarter begins in April. All right. So April 2016 began the new fiscal annual for the gaming industry. So 1 April is when everything resets, and March is when everything ends. All right. That makes sense. So Sony, Ubisoft, and companies release their fiscal year first quarter results, meaning what they've done in April, May, and June over the last 3 months for the first fiscal year. Okay. Now we're going to talk about, again, the gaming network services. Okay. A comparison, I'm going to mention 2 quarters. We're going to mention what happened in April, May, June of last year. And then I'm going to mention this year. This is where you see the year-to-year growth. This is how the industry looks at it. You know what I'm saying? So last year in quarter 1, they mentioned how much money they made. And then they came out with a plan for the rest of the year. The rest of the year passes. And now they compare what they did this quarter to last quarter to see if they're on the right track, if that makes sense. So they want to check April, May, June of 2016. And then look at April, May, June 2015 and see the changes to see if the decision they made for the year was was in the right direction. All right. So April, May, June of 2015, Sony had, and I'm going to convert this because they do yen instead of dollars. They had 2.8 billion in sales for April, May, and June of 2015. So 2.8 billion, making that division the largest division of Sony. That's the division that made the most money. And everybody knew that. PlayStation's their bread and butter at this point. Now you know why. 2.8 billion in sales for the PlayStation division, making it the largest one. Specifically, I'll even go down a little bit further because this is where the conversation is going to get interesting in a few. It's actually 2.88 billion. All right. So that's $2,880,000,000. Okay. In sales. That was April, May, June of 2015. This April, May, June of 2016, it went up to 3.3 billion. So they're on the rise. That means all the decisions they made last year, and I'm talking about everything, right down to skipping Gamescom and going for Paris, Games Week, the games they sold. Every decision Sony made last year increased their sales and stuff like that. So in their eyes, they're making the right moves for the direction they want with the PlayStation brand. You know what I'm saying? Because this division shot up by like 500, 600 million if you do the math. Okay, so PlayStation as its own division is on the rise and is rising even better than what the PlayStation numbers did back in the day. PlayStation 2 did back in the days. So as far as Sony's concerned, the PlayStation division is going down the right track. It's making lots of money. It's selling lots of software. It's selling lots of hardware. So this is where they're going on the right track. All right. So if Sony went up to $3.3 billion, how the hell does Wall Street Journal, Forbes, and all this stuff are saying the stocks are low? How do other gamers saying that Sony's going broke? Where's this coming from if the PlayStation division is on the rise, actually? Well, this is where the other divisions come into play. One other division, and I'll talk about it, is the mobile communication, their cell phone, whatever. April, May, June of 2015, they sold 2.8 billion in sales. Okay, now notice they're just 800 million under the PlayStation division, because remember I told you the PlayStation one was 2.88, the mobile communication is 2.8. So they're just neck and neck. Those two divisions back in April, May, June of 2015, they were neck and neck. But this quarter in 2016, they sold $1 billion less. They're down to 1.85 billion. You understand what I'm saying? So while PlayStation went up 500 million, the mobile communications went down $1 billion. And PlayStation can't make up that level of loss that the cell phone division, the phone division, So that's just one example. Another one that went down is the image product and solutions division. That's the camera division. Last April, May, June of 2015, they had 1.64 billion in sales. This in 2016, it went down to 1.2. You understand? So that division's at a loss. Pretty much most of the divisions of Sony are at a loss. The only division that went up along with the PlayStation is the picture division. Last year, they had 1.7 billion in sales. This year, they have 1.8. So just a little bit. And the music, it was 1.3 billion in sales. This year is 1.4. But everything else went down. You know what I'm saying? So when you take the whole picture, when you take the whole look of Sony, last year they had, oh my God, like almost 18 billion in sales. This year they have 16 billion in sales. So they went down to 2 billion. They lost 2 billion year over year. You understand what I'm saying? So this is where the community, the fanboys, all that stuff, they mix two pictures. They try to take a picture saying Sony is going down, but then they exclusively try to make it PlayStation division's fault, which is not the case. The PlayStation division itself is healthy. It's healthier than it's ever been. All right. And we're talking going back to the PS1, PS2. Sony's the PlayStation division is on the rise. You understand? That division really is what's holding, Sony together. All right. It's the other divisions that has to be worried about. And I ain't gonna say it has to be worried about, because really I don't care about, their cameras and stuff like that. It doesn't really bother me. I really everything else in that picture doesn't. Maybe the picture studio, because they have Spider-Man and Ghostbusters, and I heard Ghostbusters wasn't that good, and they do come out with good movies. Music is as whatever. Financial services, that doesn't even apply here in America. That's mostly, maybe, a little concern for the people who are trying to invest in stuff. But overall, if any of those divisions keep losing, what Sony ends up doing is they're just gonna cut that division. Remember they had a PC division that was specifically responsible for PC. They used to have the Sony Vaio and laptop line. They don't make that no more. They cut that division away. You know what I'm saying? So if any of these divisions keep going downhill, they're just gonna get rid of that division. They're just gonna keep the divisions that they can see growth and improvement, stuff like that. So Sony, that division, the PlayStation division on its own, it's self-supportable. It's making the money, and all that money is doing. They're just going to use it to reinvest into its own brand and make it bigger and better. Now, of course, we have to worry about some of the decisions Sony makes. Is VR going to be um, profitable? Is it going to be successful? My opinion on VR, nothing against it, but I have yet to see an add-on peripheral be successful through the test of time. There isn't one. The closest is maybe Kinect, right? Because it sold like 16 million on the 360, but you saw what it did to the Xbox One brand, and there's really no games to play on it. It's just one of those things that I haven't seen a device. Maybe PSVR could be the first device. I mean, there's going to be one. At some point, there's going to be one. There's going to be one peripheral that's going to break the mold. I don't know if PSVR is. The only thing that PSVR has an advantage is that it's not alone in the market. In fact, PSVR wasn't even the first of PSVR to push gaming for this generation. It was the Oculus Rift. That was, if I remember correctly, that was the first talk about VR gaming was the Oculus Rift, and then the Vive came out, and then Samsung has its own little VR thing. I think it's powered by Vive for its phone. So not everybody's jumping on VR. Sony is just trying to jump in for the PlayStation 4. So one thing I say Sony has I want to say an advantage, but I would say the one disadvantage it doesn't have is industry support. It's a lot of companies are jumping on the VR bandwagon. It's not like Sony's doing it on its own, So I could see that being a little advantage. But I guess I don't know. We'll just see how that works with that. But that's pretty much it for the financial thing. It's just a quick thing. So when people talk about Sony's in trouble, they remember there's 10 divisions, As us gamers, we need to focus on the PlayStation division, especially if you're a PlayStation fan. You want to know how Sony's doing in terms of the health of the PlayStation line, And ultimately, I think they learned from the PlayStation 3, because let's be real. Sony got their ass kicked with the 360. Now, I love the PlayStation 3. You know what I'm saying? I prefer the PlayStation 3 over the 360, but there's no doubt. We just got to call spade a spade. 360 was the console of the gen. Microsoft did better moves. They created a cheaper console, a console that was easier to develop for the developers, which resulted in better game sales for the industry. And that's ultimately what a generational console is supposed to do. Make it easier for gamers to buy, make it easy for developers to make games, and sell a lot of games, which means gamers are buying a lot of games, which means gamers are playing a lot of games. That's ultimately what the console of the gen does every gen. Every console of the gen does the same thing. Everybody can easily afford it. Everybody buys games for it. Developers make mad money off it. That's it. That's just really it. You know what I'm saying? Like me, I preferred some of the PlayStation 3 exclusives, but I'm not ignorant to understand that more games were sold on the 360 than the PS3. Developers preferred the PS3 because it was so easier. They were able to make more money. That's just a reality. This gen, Sony's doing the same thing with the PS4. It was just a platform that people can easily afford. Now the 360 Xbox One is affordable, but in the beginning, a $500 console was a little bit hard to swallow. You know what I mean? So a lot of gamers went after that one. It's a little bit easier to develop on the PlayStation mostly because of the memory. So that's just how it is. It really comes down to which is the console that's easier accessible, and developers could sell most of their software, and that's just what's going on. So as far as the PlayStation division, Sony is killing it. It's true. HP North, Sony is killing it. As far as the non-profitable divisions that's going on, one of the big things, if you read the thing, and it's pretty boring, but that's why I'm here to tell you, because it is a pretty boring PowerPoint. A lot of the divisions and the money they lost, they attributed to the 2016 earthquake. I guess a lot of their companies got, a lot of their manufacturing plants got destroyed, and they just had to rebuild it. So I could say that is a huge impact. It's a disaster impact on their end. So you see that on a slide. They have like these little like notes on it, and it shows that the earthquake destroyed a lot of their manufacturing plants, which means they had to put money to rebuild new manufacturing plants, and a lot of the planned production for components and parts and stuff, they weren't able to meet their projections and sell it and stuff like that. And that's just how it is. And I would imagine it's bad for Sony, because like if they can't get back their stuff, rapidly, these companies that are trying to order these parts or whatever for Sony, they just probably went to another company like Samsung or whatever, because they're not going to wait. Granted, they'll feel, they can empathize with Sony saying, hey, we feel badly going that you had this earthquake, but business is business. We got to keep moving. This is not a charity, so we're going to start buying our stuff from this company until either A, you get yourself back into shape, or we'll never go back to Sony again. That's just how businesses work and stuff. So that's just how it is. So Mark says if they start selling off division, stocks will drop. It depends. It's not as simple as that. If the division is not producing money, like the PC, they'll use the division when they got rid of the PC. After Sony dropped and stopped making the Vio line, their stocks actually went up. You know what I'm saying? Because the truth is, in terms of Sony, there's no way for them to be competitive. They're just not. No one really wants a Sony Vio desktop or laptop. Everybody wants a Dell, or they'll go for an HP, or they're going for tablets. And even with tablets, not that many people really wanted a Sony tablet. They either want a Samsung, they want an iPad, or they'll go for the kids' tablet. You know what I'm saying? So Sony has to be realistic on what they're able to sell and what people want, And the PC segment, they just weren't doing good. Nobody really wants a Vio. When you think of, I'm gonna go buy a laptop, the last thing on people's mind is, let me go to the Sony section and see how the Vio line is. It's just not. I mean, let's be honest. Would any of us here buy a Sony Vio? I don't give a shit. I'll be honest. I don't have. If it wasn't for the PlayStation, I don't have any other Sony products. Hell, my washer and dryer is Samsung. I don't buy Sony. I'm not, in reality, I'm not really a pony. I'm just a PlayStation fan. But when it comes to Sony products, I don't have anything else. My laptop I'm talking on right now is Dell. The TV I play my PlayStation on is Vizio. I got my PlayStation 4, my PlayStation 3. I don't even know where my PSP's at. I think it got stolen and shit. I don't even pay attention to that. All my TVs are Sharp or another brand. I don't have any of the Sony products. I got a Samsung washer and dryer, which is really nice. I got an iPhone. I don't have no Sony tablets. I bought my wife a Samsung tablet. A Galaxy tablet is just, Sony products in general is not as wanted as like the 80s and 90s when everybody, I don't even want a Sony TV. I don't tell you the truth. I don't even want a Samsung TV. Vizio, their TVs are nice. They came up, so I have no problem, stuff like that. Yeah, see, you got an LG phone. It's just a reality, So I think Sony products as a whole is really says I'm too far a sensible reason to be a pony. It's just a reality. Most ponies probably don't have a lot of Sony products either. That's just reality. I think there's probably more Xbox guys that have Sony products than I do in terms of TVs and stuff. Because some people say the TVs are great, fantastic, but they're like $3,000. I'm like, it's not that serious for me, Yeah, same thing. Yeah. Oh, my man Hoovie's here. Hey, appreciate you for stopping by. But same thing. So really, I'm not really a Sony pony. I'm a PlayStation fan. Because if you try to say, hey, fucking Sony cameras suck, I'm gonna be like, they probably do, and I will never buy one. And hell, it's just not my thing, So that's just how it is. So really, the only concern I actually just even talk about is just simply, yeah, Mark says, I love Xbox, but no way would I have a Windows phone. I feel you. It's just a reality. In most of us, we only really like one thing the company has. Like Windows, I don't really care one way or another. It's pretty much the most common operating system. So when I buy a laptop, I'm not going to be like, oh, I got to make sure it has Linux. No, I'm not about that life. It's going to have Windows in it. In fact, every PC I had and laptop I had since day one was a Windows operating system. It is what it is, I prefer Microsoft Office or whatever and all that stuff, And me too, I prefer Windows over Mac. I don't know, it's just something. I know Mac is nice and they do all this cool shit, but for some reason, Windows is just so easy to use. I don't know what it is. It's just easy and stuff. But that's just the reality. But as a gamer, I know some people will say you shouldn't be interested in financials. Why are you worrying about that fanboy shit? But like I said, if you wondered why Lionhead Studios went away, if you're wondering why the developers of Dry Club went away, if you're wondering why Project Spark is not being made for Xbox anymore, they canceled the project. If you wonder why Capcom hasn't talked about deep down for PlayStation 4, it comes down to financials. It comes down to game sales and stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? That's just the reason. I'll give you one perfect example. All right. And this is a real world example for all those who are part of the Xbox. Last year, Square Enix, out of the blue, they announced that Rise of Tomb Raider is also going to be on PS4 and PC, despite the fact that it was July and the game wasn't even out yet on the Xbox One. I know that pissed off a lot of Xbox fans and stuff like that, because that game is supposed to be part of the formula to push Xbox One sales. That's the whole reason why you do these timed exclusives. Granted, everybody knew it was going to be timed exclusives because, a Tomb Raider game not on PlayStation, that doesn't make sense. But at least if you keep the perception, and you keep that perception after the game is out, that period of November, December, it could make a huge difference for Xbox One sales. You know what I'm saying? It's kind of like BioShock. When it first came out, it was timed exclusive on the Xbox 360. The developer wasn't mentioning anything about the PS3 version. No matter how hard the PS3 version was being talked about, the developer was like, hey, it's not coming to PS3. It's not. After the year of BioShock being on 360, then they announced it's coming on PS3. You understand? So that perception is what's good for, those deals and stuff like that. So the Xbox community was livid. They were pissed off. Why the hell did Square Enix announce that it's coming to PS4? Because that pretty much ruined the momentum for Xbox One in the holidays. Now people can plan and be like, you know what? Since it's coming on PS4 anyway, I won't get an Xbox. I could get Uncharted and Tomb Raider, especially if Microsoft paid to be the competitor to Uncharted. You know what I'm saying? Even if it's just a year, that's just more than enough to have a game that could compete with the upcoming Uncharted. That's the whole plan, all right? So why did Square Enix do it? Everybody's still asking. That doesn't make sense. It's because of sales. Because that same month, Sony announced that they sold 25 million consoles, and they are outpacing the PS2. And I guarantee these third-party developers, they also track hardware sales. They do, because they want to know which platform is gonna be the bigger group to sell games. So now look at it from Square Enix perspective. Their top game for 2015 is not going to be released on the console market leading hardware. That's what they saw. That's what the board members saw. Our game is not coming out on the PlayStation, and PlayStation is the number one selling console. It's selling faster than the PS2, and they panicked. That's just the reality. Square Enix panicked. And that same month was the last month Microsoft released hardware sales numbers. So now Microsoft is staying quiet on hardware sales numbers, and Sony's bragging about hardware sales numbers. And Square Enix is like, our biggest game is releasing this holiday season, and it's not on the higher selling console market. A year before, when Square Enix made this deal, the PS4 and Xbox One sales were kind of neck and neck. So at the time, they thought it was a good investment. It was a good deal. Hey, we'll put on Xbox, make a little money with the exclusive deal. Everything's fine. Fast forward a year, the market changed. Everything's different now. Sony's like, yeah, we got 25 million. Microsoft is staying quiet, and Square Enix stuck in the middle. So Square Enix really panicked. That's really what happened. So now here's the thing. Why didn't Microsoft sue? Because I think technically Microsoft could sue, especially if they would have had a deal and it's part of the non-disclosure saying, hey, you agreed to not say anything and to keep this time exclusive. You broke that. We're going to go after, we're going to sue you. We're going to go after financial compensation, yada, yada, yada. Do I think Microsoft had the ability to do that? I think so. I think they could have done that. So the question is, why didn't they do it? It's because of Phil Spencer. Phil Spencer is a smart dude, all right? Some people are going to say, no, he's a pussy. He should have. No. That dude was smart. He was smart on just letting it go. What's done is done. Nothing, the cat's out of the bag. You know what I'm saying? Everybody knows now. It's coming to PS4. That's already done. It's, it's whatever. There's nothing he could do about that, all right? So the question is this. Does he go after Square Enix, take him to court? And now it's going to be on the media. Microsoft is suing Square Enix, yada, yada, do that stuff, and risk the bad publicity of being the evil corporation that's suing Square Enix? Or does he just let it go and play the good guy, saying, hey, there's nothing wrong with other gamers getting access to this game. But just to let you know, if you want to play this game, you get to play it first on Xbox. And that's how he played it. He ended up looking like the good guy. He kept cool. He kept calm. He kept collective. He made sure that the company didn't go through any further media. When people say, hey, it's coming to PlayStation anyway, he's like, yeah, it is, and that's good for you guys. But if you want to play it right now, if you want to play this holiday season, you can only do that on Xbox. And that's how he played his card. So Phil Spencer, to the Xbox community, you have a good dude. You have a smart dude. He's not the type to jump the gun and try to go, guerrilla on anybody. He played it smart. Because I think if Microsoft would have went um, and sued Square Enix for infringement, deal infringement, breaking the contracts, all that stuff, I think it would have hurt them bad. I think the media would have shaped it, saying Microsoft's greedy, Microsoft don't want gamers, other gamers to enjoy this great game. Microsoft is anti-PC, and you would have just saw all this negative press on them. That man was wise. He saw far ahead of that. He just let it go. And if anyone tried to say, well, it's coming to PC and PS4, he just went back and pretty much said, true, and it's good that you guys get to play, but if you want to play it right now, you got to get an Xbox to do it. And that's just the angle he did. And that's just pretty much. So Phil Spencer's smart dude. I think the company's a good hand and stuff like that. Whatever. But anyway, I'm about 15 minutes away from doing a podcast with my boy Next Gen. If you're listening at 4:30, I'm doing a debate with Madonna Saigon. He's been on the multiplayer podcast and stuff. So I think it's gonna be a good, entertaining podcast. I always try to make it entertaining on his channel and stuff like that. So it's gonna be fun and stuff. Anyway, so for all of you that joined, I appreciate it. Thank you, Monty Ross. I'm gonna give some shout outs. Monty Ross, HP North, Mark Woodland, man, he's my fellow Xbox. I think he was the first Xbox dude that followed me on Twitter, so I appreciate that. Hoovy, thank you for showing up and all that stuff. And that's it. Hey, tomorrow I'm doing my actual weekly podcast, 60 Frames No Lag. It's at 6 p.m. Eastern. Depending on your time zone, catch it and stuff like that. Tomorrow's topics will be mobile gaming. I know most of us are like, mobile gaming. But I think it's going to be an interesting podcast because I'm going to tell you, do not sleep on this. Do not sleep on this mobile gaming. That shit's getting big. They have streaming now, and that shit's making money. These guys are making money and stuff. And we'll just talk about it. I don't want to get too much. It's going to be interesting. You know what I'm saying? But anyway, thanks for stopping by. You guys are awesome. All right. To the best community. I'm telling you, we are by far the most passionate community on YouTube. There is no other community, not cars, not movies. Hell, I don't even think comics. We go hard and we go in for the consoles that we enjoy, and that's awesome. You know what I'm saying? But at the end of the day, let's just make sure we keep it gaming. All right? Let's always keep it gaming. Enjoy your game. Enjoy your preference, and just have a great time. Hey, so I'll see you guys in a few. If you tune in and stuff, you take care. Enjoy your weekend. Have a great weekend. Be safe, and enjoy your gaming. All right? That's awesome. Take care, and we are about to be out. And this is gonna be my thing. Yeah. 60 frames, no lag. All right. Take care.